Welcome everyone to the Sage Intelligence Reporting webcast. Today I'm going to take you through part 10 of our X Factor Report Writer series. I want to take a look at tables and optional fields and how you can add fields into your reports when you've got a table with multiple options that you want to report on. My name is Carmen and I'm the product specialist for Sage Intelligence. Just so that you are aware, today's webcast will be recorded and provided to you via email. All participants are muted for the duration of the webcast, but if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A control panel or email me afterwards at carmen.grissel@sage.com. So what I'd like to cover today. Today I want to show you how you can identify the tables that have these optional fields, especially in Sage 300, and then how you can choose fields out of those tables to then place into your reporting or into Excel. Then I'm going to take you through filtering the table and then showing you how to display that data inside Excel. So firstly, identifying the table and the fields. Obviously you need a data dictionary to find out what fields or tables that you have, and if you have an optional fields table that you want to pull data out of, you can use that. Or if for instance you want to combine two reports and pull certain information out only, you can use the same methods we're going to use today and apply it to your table. So as you can see, this example here that I'm going to take you through, we are going to be working with the customer tables, and we're going to look at the optional fields on the customer table. Now the optional fields is a separate table from your customer table, and therefore we need to pull out the information that we need. So in this example for 300, you have one optional fields table for customers, and that has multiple optional fields. So you've got a notes field, you've got additional selections of data like location, maybe payment terms on that, and you may only want to pull out information for notes, and that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to show you how to add an additional table to the connector to your data container, and then extract the data that you're looking for from that particular table in your report. Then I'm going to show you how to filter that table or that field so that you can pull in the information you want. So there's two different ways of doing that. You can use our report manager, or you can actually apply a filter in the SQL query. And then finally, how you pull that into Excel or pivot table and view that data further. So let's get started. As I mentioned, I'll be using today Sage 300, but adding these tables, specifying the fields that you want to pull into a report is doable in all the integrations that uses Sage Intelligence. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look at the customer reports that I want to tweak. So under my sales, I have a sales master report, and I'm going to be using that one to show you this demo today. The first thing I need to do is create a folder so I can copy that report and place it into it. So on my home node, I'm going to click on add a folder, and I'm going to go optional fields. And I'm going to copy that master report, sales report, and I'm going to paste it into that new folder that I've just created. And close that folder. And now I want to just give it a new name. So I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to rename this. I'm going to click apply, and that is then going to change my template name to match my report name. And we want to do this so that we can identify our report easily. Once we've done that, I can then run this out to show you what we have currently. So clicking on the green icon, I'm going to select my data range. And that's going to run out into Excel. Let me just fix this quickly. Options. Let's try that again. So clicking on the report, click on the green run icon, select the data parameters. Okay, and there's my report. So as you can see, I've got my customer name, my item names that have been purchased, and then the quantity and so forth. Now what I want to do is I want to go and add that notes from my customer's ID or file into this particular report. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to just close that down. I'm going to go firstly to the container of where the data is actually being pulled from. So to do this, I need to double click on my report, and I can double click on the source container. From here, if I have access to the container connector module, you'll be able to right click and go into the connector module. Why I like to come through this way is it because it takes me straight to my data container that I need to work in. Remembering the best practice would be to make a copy of this and then recreate your report off of that if you're adding additional tables to or additional fields to this table or data container. So now what I want to do is I want to go and have a look how this is set up. Now this particular sales master data container is set up using SQL, and what we need to do is, as we identified that new table, the customer optional fields table, we need to now add that to this data to the SQL query. So to do that, I'm just going to copy this top one over here, and I'm going to paste it to at the bottom, because all our tables are linking to this top table over here. So now all I need to do is change my table name to my optional fields table for my customers, and I'm linking my optional fields to the main table, and over here I'm going to type in customer optional fields, and there is a ID customer. Now to check this, all I need to do is click on execute. Oops, I've got something wrong there. Let's just do that again. Double check that. I've put it in twice. Just delete that. You can see there, it's in there already. You've got your optional fields, you've got your main table that you're linking to, and then my optional fields and my ID, so that I can actually link and then use this table inside my SQL query. Now all I need to do, again, as I mentioned, is click on execute, and you can see it's working. So I'm going to click OK, and now I'm going to go in and add two fields. One, my optional fields, to show you what fields are available inside there, and two, the values that those optional fields actually store. So to add an additional expression to this, or a field, you need to go and click on add expression, and I'm going to say select data field. there you see at the bottom, my optional field has now been added, or my table's been added, and I'm going to click OK. And as I mentioned, I want to use optional fields and value, and I'm going to click OK. And there are my two fields. Now if I click on optional fields and I click on sample data to sort that, you can see it's pulling in all different types of optional fields. We're interested in this notes section, and we want to pull that information into our report. So there we have what type of optional fields we've got. And if I click on value and then sample that data, you can see there's all different datas in there, and we're going to pull out the notes one. So I first want to rename value because it's not a user-friendly name, and I'm going to name it notes, and I'm going to click on apply. And I'm going to leave optional fields as is. What I'm going to do now is go back to my report manager and add these two fields to my report. So going to my report manager, I'm going to click on my report, and you can see my tabs come up on the right hand side. By clicking on columns, I can then go and add my notes field. And I can also go and add my optional field. Let's run that out and show you what that looks like now. So if we go and look at that report, we haven't changed anything on the table, but if we unhide our sheet 1, we'll be able to see our new fields inside our data. As you can see, it's pulling in all these optional fields, and it's sitting at a row level. What we want to do is we want to basically say, I want to pull in just notes, and it must automatically filter to just pull in the notes information. So let's go and do that now. So I'm just going to minimize that. I can do it two ways. I can either do it inside the report manager, and to do that I'm going to click on filters. I'm going to go add, and I'm going to go down to my optional fields and click OK. Then I'm going to say it's going to be equal to, and if I click on the ellipses on the side, you can see those are all the different options I have to pull out of my optional fields. So I'm going to select note, and I'm going to click OK. Then at my columns, I don't need to see that optional field anymore, so I can select it and just remove it from my columns. So let's run that out now. Again, just enter my data parameters. And click OK. Once it's run out, let's go and have a look at it. I'm going to unhide my sheet 1. And if I scroll to the end now, you can see I've got one column with only my notes inside that. So it's now filtered all my notes, and it's taken out anything that isn't linked to the notes section. So there's another way of doing this. Okay, you can actually do it inside the container as well. So I'm going to go do that now. So over here, we can leave the notes column in here, and I'm going to remove that optional fields option here. And I'm going to go back to my connector module, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my master data container, and inside my container I'm going to edit it to then only bring through the notes option. So at the end of this, because we put our last table at the bottom, I can now go in and type in where, and then we're going to use exactly the optional fields one. So we're going to go open bracket ARCUSO, close the bracket, and that's the table name, and then we're going to use the field optional field, and we're going to say it needs to be equal to notes. And I'm going to click on execute to make sure I've got everything right, and it seems to be pulling in. So now let's go and add this to my report. So I'm going to click OK, and I am then going to just test this quickly. So I'm going to click on my optional fields, and I'm going to sample the data. Oops. Just check test it, and let's go and run that data now. So back at my report manager, because I've actually applied that filter on the connector module, it should now automatically only pull through my notes. So I'm going to click on run again. Okay, I must have done something wrong. Let's just go and have a look quickly. There we are. It's notes, not notes. Let me apply. Sample. There we are. That's better. So let's go back to my report and try run it out again. Select all currencies, click OK. And let's go look at that report. I'm going to unhide sheet 1. And if I go to the end, you can see it's done exactly the same, but this time we've done it in the data container. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to mention while I've got you here is once you've added those optional fields, okay, if I go back to the last one before we made that change, a lot of the times when you're adding data and you want to basically put your field in the next column without having it go underneath the customer name. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I click on here and I'm going to create a pivot table, okay, obviously I'm going to use my F3, and I'm going to use all my raw data, and I'm going to go to a new worksheet. Just move that to the end. I'm going to select my customer name. I want to pull in my notes. Okay, and then let's put in a value there. There we are. And maybe a document number. Okay, as you can see, it's got your note there and it's got an amount next to it. I want to actually pull this particular field next to my customer name. So to do that, all you need to do is you click on your notes, you go to your field settings, and then underneath where it says layout, and print, you basically change that to label in tabular form and click OK. And there you have your documents in there. That's not right. Let's just do that again. Okay, there we are. There you have your notes in the column next to your customer name, which makes more sense. And then you can actually view what the notes are on that particular customer, and then you can actually send them all those invoices if you're wanting to add that into that. Okay, so to do that again, remember you go to your field that you want to apply it to, you click on field settings, you go to layout and print, and then change your show item labels in tabular form and click OK. And that's how you move it across to the column as well. Let's just go back. Remembering, once you've done all this, you need to actually save your report, and you do that by going back to your report manager, you select your report, and you click Save Excel Template. As you can see, I've got multiples open. If I just double check which one I've worked on, it was 4. So I'm going to click on 4 and click OK. Yes, that's fine. Okay, and that's now saved my report, and I can run it out again, and it'll have those options available for me. Okay, so one of the questions was, while I was doing the webcast, is can you add more than one optional field into one workbook? So to do this, you need to go into your data container and add a subquery to the data container. From here, you will then enter in the 2 different optional fields that you want and how you are identifying them. And then you're going to go into the connector module and add the 2 expressions, which are your optional fields, into the data container. The first thing I need to do is select my data container in the connector module. Once there, I need to go in and then edit my data container SQL. And as you can see, I've placed 2 subqueries in there, pulling out my up zone and my notes for my optional fields. And I'm going to check that's all working by clicking on execute, and I'm going to click OK. Then what I need to do is add the SQL expressions. To do this, I'm going to go to my data container and I'm going to add an expression. It needs to be a SQL expression, and I'm going to click OK. And over here, I'm going to type in notes for the name of my SQL expression. And then, because that subquery creates a temporary table, you can then reference that temporary table. So it's going to be note dot and my value. And I'm going to click OK. So what I need to do is click on add expression, and it's going to be a SQL query again. And I'm going to give it a name for my expression, which is going to be up zone. And I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to reference that subquery, which has now created a temporary table for me to use. So it's up zone. And the field I'm going to return, is value. Click OK. And now I can check test those. So I'm going to select up zone, check test it, it works, and I'm going to do the same for notes. It works, and now I can test the values in that. So I can click on sample data, and you can see it's returning my notes. And then if I click on up zone and click on sample data, it's then returning what's inside that particular optional field. Now all I need to do is go back to my report manager, select my report. Remember, if you've previously added the filter and the parameters, you need to remove those. Go to columns, and I'm going to click on add, and I'm going to add those 2 fields that we've just added, which is your notes. If I scroll down, my up zone. Click OK. Now we can run this report out. So I'm going to click on my report, and I'm going to click on run. And here I'm just going to change the date. Click OK. So what I can do now is I can go into unhide, sheet 1, and if I go all the way to the end, you can see I've got a notes column and I've got an up zone column, zone, which will then tell me what zone that particular customer is in. Pulling through two different optional fields from one table. So the learning portal, if you want more information on like creating expressions and how to work inside the connector module, all you need to do is go to our learning portal, where you'll find the information you need underneath your integration under the advanced tab. If you'd like to connect with us, please do so by using our sageintelligence.com site, where you can access the learning portal, the academy, our community, where you'll get further answers to your questions, and you can then also contact us via the forum. We love feedback, so if you found this useful, please do like it and share it on your social media channels.